Have you ever wondered what goods were traded along the Silk Road and why? Let's step back in time, shall we? Picture this. Central Eurasia, a vast stretch of land teeming with diverse cultures, traditions, and languages. Now, imagine a network of trade routes sprouting from this massive landmass, connecting its varied regions like a complex web. This, my friends, is the inception of the Silk Road. In 1877, Ferdinand Freiherr von Richthofen, a German geographer, coined the term Silk Road. He focused on the flourishing silk trade between the Chinese Han Empire from 206 BC to 220 AD and Rome. But modern scholars recognize that the Silk Road, or Silk Roads, continued to enable cross-continental trade until large-scale maritime trade replaced overland caravans in the 17th and 18th centuries. But the Silk Road was more than just a simple trail for traders. It was a vibrant and bustling trade network that spanned centuries, shaping the course of history and the world as we know it. And it was not just one single straight path. Oh no, it was a maze of routes, each one teeming with life and stories of its own. Now, what made the Silk Road so significant? Well, it was not just about the exchange of goods, although that was a big part of it. Yes, there were silk, horses, paper, spices, jade, and fur, and yes, they were traded extensively. But the Silk Road was also about the exchange of knowledge and culture. It was a conduit for ideas, innovations, and philosophies, a highway where East met West, and new concepts and inventions were born. As traders traversed these routes, they did not just carry goods, they carried stories, beliefs, and wisdom. They brought with them the teachings of their lands, their ways of life, their technologies, and their religions. They shared these with the people they met along the way, and in turn, absorbed new insights and perspectives. And so, the Silk Road served as a grand stage for cultural exchange, facilitating the spread of religions and ideas through the transmission of texts and books. But it was not just about the enlightened exchange of knowledge. There were also darker aspects of Silk Road trade, like slavery. So you see, the Silk Road was more than just a trade route. It was a highway of ideas and innovations. It was a testament to the interconnectedness of our world, a symbol of unity amidst diversity, and a beacon of cultural exchange. But as we'll see in the next scenes, the Silk Road was also a mirror reflecting the darker aspects of human nature and the relentless march of progress. So, what exactly was traded along these ancient routes? Well, the Silk Road was like a grand bazaar, teeming with a myriad of goods. At the heart of it all was, of course, silk, the coveted fabric that gave the Silk Road its name. Silk was first produced in China as early as 3000 BC. It was highly sought after for its beauty and luxury, and it found its way into the wardrobes of the elite across continents. Rome effectively sent tons of gold to China to buy the product. Because of limited carrying capacity on caravans, silk was an ideal trade item, because of its high value and light weight. But the Silk Road was not a one-trick pony. It also served as a conduit for the trade of horses. Sturdy and swift, these horses, especially those from Central Asia, were prized assets, essential for warfare and transportation. Then there was paper, another ingenious invention from China. At first, papermaking was a closely guarded secret. Eventually, the art of papermaking spread across the Silk Road, revolutionizing communication and record-keeping. Text and paper bound into books was able to convey a myriad of thoughts and ideas. This enabled the spread of technology, culture, ideas, and religions. Spices, too, were a hot commodity, pun entirely intended. Exotic and aromatic, spices from India like black pepper, cinnamon, ginger, and nutmeg were traded extensively, adding a dash of flavor to cuisines around the world. Spices were mainly transported along the ancient maritime routes of the Silk Road. Jade, a valuable crystalline green gemstone, was also traded. It is a symbol of purity and nobility in Chinese culture. Fur, a necessity for the cold Eurasian winters, made their way across the trade routes as well. Porcelain from China was first traded with its neighbors, but soon was also prized by Europeans. Tea was first traded within East Asia. It was then first introduced to Western priests and merchants in China during the 16th century. Moving further along, we find bronze products, the epitome of Chinese craftsmanship. These items were not only practical but also represented the sophistication of the East. From India we had fabrics, their vibrant colors and intricate designs reflecting the country's rich cultural tapestry. China imported few products from Europe. Glassware was one of those few products. Roman glassware was among the prized possessions of the Asian elite. Sheep was largely unknown in China. Thus, woolen products such as clothes, carpets, curtains, blankets and rugs was another of those few items imported into China. Sadly, so was the trade of slaves, part of the Silk Road, a tragic testament to the darker aspects of human history. These goods were not just merchandise, they were the seeds of cultural exchange. Each item carried with it a piece of its origin, a story, a tradition, or a technique, ready to be planted in new soil, ready to grow and intertwine with the local culture. And that, my friends, is the true beauty of the Silk Road trade. But the Silk Road was not just about trading goods, it was also about trading ideas. This network of ancient trade routes was a significant highway, not just for commodities, but also for the spread of knowledge, beliefs, technologies, and even diseases. Imagine, if you will, a time when paper was a novelty, a new technology that was as revolutionary then as the internet is to us today. The Silk Road played a key role in the spread of papermaking from China, where it was invented, to the rest of the world. This seemingly simple material transformed societies, enabling the recording and dissemination of ideas like never before. Glassmaking, another significant technology, also found its way across cultures and continents via the Silk Road. Originating in the Middle East, the art of glassmaking spread to China and beyond, influencing art, architecture, and daily life in profound ways. But it was not just tangible goods and technologies that traveled these routes. The Silk Road was also instrumental in the spread of religions and philosophical ideas. Buddhism, for instance, originated in India, but found eager adherents in China, Korea, Japan, and other parts of East Asia, largely thanks to the Silk Road. The exchange of religious texts and the travel of monks along these routes helped spread the teachings of the Buddha far and wide. This exchange was not one-sided. Ideas flowed in both directions along the Silk Road. For instance, Chinese concepts of governance, philosophy, and art also influenced societies in Central Asia and the Middle East. The Silk Road, then, was more than a trade route. It was a conduit for the spread of knowledge and ideas, a bridge that connected diverse cultures and helped shape them in turn. As much as it was about silk, spices, and other commodities, it was about the exchange of thoughts, beliefs, and technologies. The Silk Road was a conduit for knowledge, shaping civilizations far and wide. However, the Silk Road had its dark side too. As much as it was a beacon of cultural exchange and trade, the Silk Road also bore witness to some of the darkest aspects of human history. One such aspect was the trade in human lives. Yes, slavery. As goods, knowledge, and cultures traversed this vast network, so did the tragic exchange of human beings, sold into servitude and despair. Yet the darkness of the Silk Road did not stop at the trading of lives. It also served as a conduit for the transmission of disease. The same routes that carried silk, spices, and ideas also carried something far more sinister: the Black Death. This devastating pandemic, which claimed millions of lives across Europe and Asia, was believed to have been spread along the Silk Road, carried by fleas on rats that stowed away on merchant caravans. So, while the Silk Road played an undeniable role in shaping the world as we know it today, it is also important to remember the suffering it facilitated. The Silk Road was a double-edged sword. It brought prosperity and cultural exchange, but it also brought pain, suffering, and tragedy. It is a chilling reminder of how interconnected our world truly is. The same roots that can bring us together can also spread devastation. The Silk Road was not just a path of prosperity, but also a path of pain and suffering. All good things come to an end, and so did the Silk Road. For centuries, the Silk Road was the superhighway of its time, a bustling network of trade routes connecting east and west. But as the old saying goes, change is the only constant. In the 17th and 18th centuries, a new player entered the global commerce game: maritime trade. The advent of sea routes offered a more direct and, in many ways, safer alternative to the overland journey of the Silk Road. These maritime routes could handle larger volumes of goods and were less subject to the political unrest and banditry that often plagued the Silk Road. Moreover, the discovery of new sea passages, such as the Cape of Good Hope and the Americas, opened up fresh opportunities for trade and exploration that the Silk Road could not provide. As a result, the Silk Road began to lose its significance, its once thriving caravans and bustling markets slowly dwindling. But even as its physical presence faded, the Silk Road's impact did not. Despite its decline, the legacy of the Silk Road is far from forgotten. It lives on, not just as a symbol of trade, but as a testament to the extraordinary cultural exchange and historical significance it once held. It was a place where ideas, religions, technologies, and even diseases were exchanged, shaping the world as we know it today. The Silk Road may have faded into history, but its impact continues to echo through the ages.
Thank you for watching. Hope you found this video informative and entertaining. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. We do like to know and hear your feedback. And if you have the means, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get early access to our videos and where we post bonus material. Till next time, this is Geeky Tidbits saying cheers and have a good day.